Today, we're jumping into a topic that's, well, it's sensitive and it's often misunderstood. We're going to use our source material to really dig into the complex world of interracial attraction. All right, so let's just get right to it. The source material kicks things off with a pretty provocative question. And look, it's a question that can be loaded with all sorts of assumptions, right? So our job today is to really unpack it carefully and see what the information actually tells us. And bam, right out of the gate, the source gives us this really crucial frame for this whole conversation. The message couldn't be clearer. We're talking about individuals being attracted to other individuals, not groups, not categories, and honestly, that idea, it's the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about. Okay, so our first section gets right to the heart of it. And probably not a huge surprise here, the source tells us there's just no single simple explanation. Yeah, the why isn't just one thing. It's more like a complex mix of everything that makes us who we are. You know, your personal history, who you hang out with, your unique personality. It's just like attraction between any two people, really. And that brings us right to the most fundamental piece of the puzzle, that personal connection. So let's look at how the source breaks down those, the healthy, universal things that make any strong relationship work, no matter who's in it. So what are we really talking about here? Well, it's the basics, right? It's things like having the exact same weird sense of humor, or sharing the same big life goals, or just finding someone physically attractive. Sometimes it's as simple as you work together, or you're in the same book club. That familiarity, that exposure, it just opens the door for something to happen. I mean, these are the fundamental building blocks of human connection. Full stop. So bottom line, when you strip all the noise away, what's the number one reason? The source says it's this simple: individual compatibility. It's all about that connection between two unique people, where their personalities, their values, their chemistry, it just clicks. Okay, now this is where things get a little more complicated, because this next part is all about how those bigger outside ideas, society's perceptions and even stereotypes can start to influence attraction. And this is a really important distinction the source makes. It draws this very fine line. Look, there's a huge difference between genuinely appreciating your partner's unique cultural background and being attracted to a stereotype about an entire race. The first one, that's healthy, that's real. The second one, well, that's where things get problematic. And the source is really clear about these. They're listed as cautions for a reason. When attraction is based on a stereotype, this idea that all Black men are super masculine or that they all share some kind of passionate trait. It's based on a complete fiction. It's not real. It totally erases the incredible diversity of actual individuals. And let's be honest, it's a form of objectification, which leads us directly to some of the most critical warnings in our source material. It really boils down to knowing the difference between real attraction and something way more harmful. And here we get a really precise definition. The word is fetishization. And it's not the same as having a preference, no. It's when you reduce a whole complex person down to nothing more than their race and the stereotypes you have about it. It's that whole, oh, I only date this race because they're all like that kind of thinking. And that's dehumanizing. It completely erases the actual person and just puts a cartoon in their place. And you know what? We absolutely cannot talk about this without looking at the history. It's impossible. Because as you can see here, the relationship between Black men and white women, especially in a place like the US, carries this incredible weight. A history of slavery that created these deep-seated hierarchies, actual laws that banned them from being together, and racism that continues today. All of that adds so many layers of pressure and complexity that you just don't see in the same way for other couples. Which brings us back to a point the source makes again and again because it's that important. Let's remember, white women and Black men aren't these monolithic blocks. We're talking about millions of unique people in each group, with totally different backgrounds, cultures, personalities, you name it. To think of them as one big uniform thing is just, Well, it's just wrong. All right, so after digging through all these different layers, we've come to the final and maybe the most important section. This is where we tie it all together and get to the ultimate conclusion from our source. And honestly, this quote from the source just says it all, doesn't it? A relationship isn't with a concept. It's not with a racial category. It's with a person. A white woman dating a black man is dating him. That one specific guy, with his own unique personality, his own history, his own sense of humor, everything that makes him, well, him. So in the end, the source gives us a really useful framework for how to think about all this. And it's a process, right? It starts and ends with the individual. Step 1, you center that connection. Step 2, yeah, acknowledge personal preferences. We all have them. But step 3, you have to be aware of where those influences come from. And step 4 is huge. Actively reject stereotypes, which all leads to step 5, seeing the whole person right there in front of you. So we'll leave you with this final thought, because the main lesson here, this whole idea of looking past a label to see the unique person, it's not just about dating, is it? Not at all. So the real question for all of us is, how can we take this idea and use it to see the individual behind the label in all aspects of our lives?